Welcome, everybody, to the Follow Brand Podcast. This is your host, Grant McGaugh, and I get an opportunity to talk about a subject that has been top of mind this entire 2026 season as we go now in July 2026. And this, what has been on top, meaning right in front of my funnel, like every day when I'm talking and I'm looking out, is AI automation. People are now have really got a taste of what AI is from a chatbot, a large language model, but they're starting to say, how can I automate business processes? That's what we call business process automation. It's been going on for a long time, but not with an AI layered algorithm on top of that. I want to introduce you to my good friend, Navin. He does this for a living about developing agents, building out workflows, configuring tools, and guided execution around this, especially for small business owners. What this really looks like beyond the hype, because they make it seem so easy if you're following a lot of certain people, but it is not an easy thing in production. The easy thing maybe for beta, but not in production. Production is a whole different animal. So, Naveen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Nice to meet everyone here and nice to be on the show. So, I'm Naveen and I'm based out of India. And I have around 25 years experience in the IT sector. Mostly I've been working with clients in the US, UK, Canada, and the Western countries. So prior to the AI era, I've been doing a lot of, data analytics, a lot of market studies and things like that, a lot of building up sales funnels. It used to be a lot manual process back then. But in this AI era, it's more like automation using systems such as Go Higher Levels. And there are so many other systems in the marketplace. Like, and I'm adapted to everything. I've used all the systems. Different clients prefer different technologies, different methodologies. Sometimes they take a subscription to a particular SaaS platform because someone told them to, but they don't know exactly how to use it or how to derive value from it for the business. So that's where I help them and apply my knowledge because I have a good understanding of data structures and how these systems are layered in the backend. So if they are providing certain outcome, I exactly know how it's configured in the backend and how to properly optimize it. So that's my expertise area where I understand, a business from a founder's point of view, understand what the problems are, understand where the bottlenecks could be, and then use technology and these modern systems to bring about efficiency in those workflows and make life easier for whoever is running the business,
And this is what I want to ask you, because I think what you just said there, because now people say, oh, okay, we have an expert in the room. Like, yes, we have Naveen. He's an expert in the room, especially when we're talking about agentic AI. He's lived this world for a long time, even before they were calling it AI. Business process automation has been around, but it is taking on a different look. You just mentioned some of this stuff was done manually, now it's done automatically. But taking that AI knowledge and turning it into a practical revenue generating solution, that is where you sit and live. Help us first understand the problem that you normally see with small business owners when they see this shiny object and say, oh, wow, I can take one person and make them five by utilizing the AI agents or agentic AI agents. What's the common problem that most people don't see before they kind of jump in to this new technology?
Right. So let's take an example. Let's say there's a financial advisory firm, right? There are a lot of financial advisors in that firm. And when they're dealing with their clients, after they're meeting with the clients, they have to prepare proposal reports. They get a certain set of input data, then they have to do some number crunching on that data and provide a financial report to the clients, right? So it becomes a very manual process where you're crunching the numbers manually using Excel or whatever. So this is a perfect example where an AI system would be very helpful. It takes inputs from a set of data. It could be a PDF, it could be some sort of Excel sheet or anything. And then it applies, the software takes over, does all the number crunching. And, what could have taken 4 to 5 hours to prepare a report and present it to the client now just takes about 30 minutes or maybe even lesser, because it's all optimized and processed through a system, you know? And but as a business owner, you as a financial advisor, let's say, you just know the numbers, you know how it should be working, but you don't know how to put it into a technical language, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, how to present it to a technical person so that he can design a system which automatically does that number crunching.
Mhm.
So my expertise lies in that area because I understand both the business and also the technology. So I'm sort of the bridge between the business problem and the technology that's going to solve it.
This
You
is
know?
important. I want to
Ye-
really lean in what you just said, because we are so used to, especially when you're dealing with large language models, and we're all enamored by AI chatbots and things like that. We're speaking human language to a machine language for the most part. But
Right.
there's a certain way that you have to present that data, what you're saying, in order for that machine language to truly understand what it is that you want to get you that type of output. And going back to what I've been talking about all year about deterministic systems and then probabilistic systems, when you're dealing with probabilities, especially in numbers, you want exact, precise numbers. So if you're putting everything into an AI engine, you might not always get the exact right answer. Is that correct?
Yeah, governance is a big part of AI. People think, okay, we have an AI system and it's going to do everything for us, right? That's true to an extent, but then there's also a concept of AI governance,
Mhm.
where the output that AI gives to be validated by a domain expert, you know? So someone running a medical report on certain data and, generating some sort of a report, but then that has to be validated by a medical expert to to verify that the data that has actually been presented is correct. So a lot of people say that, okay, AI is going to replace, human labor, humans, right? But that's not 100% true. It's going to do a lot of the work that humans have been doing, but the domain expertise is still going to be there. So someone still has to validate what AI is presenting, so that's called AI governance.
Mhm.
It has to be a big part of the workflow when businesses are implementing AI in the organization.
I love what you see. I want our people to really understand that domain authority, your particular expertise, where you understand right from wrong, you know what needs to be done is still necessary. Because even when, like even myself, I ask for an output, let's say in an AI chatbot, they'll give me some output. I'm like, no, I need to revise that. I might go 3 to 4 reiterations. The machine is not going to just do that on its own, because as far as it's concerned, it's done its job, right? It's gotten the right output. It doesn't understand that if it's right or wrong. It's just, as far as it's concerned, it's giving you what you asked for. So when you get into agentic AI modeling, now you're starting to get to multi-step applications. Now I'm going to go still in the problem world, not the solution world, because if you're taking bad data and now you're scaling it and you're manipulating it, it is continuously being worked through an agentic type system. And agentic, again, means multi-step. It has different tasks that it's doing. That's how you're building out the automations. So in order for it to be reliable, You've got to have somebody that understands what that output needs to be look like at every step of that interaction. Help us understand that a little bit deeper.
Yeah, for example, let's say, uh, let's say someone is trying to implement a AI system in the organization, right? So the team that is developing that AI system needs to have the input from the domain expert. Like, traditionally, we have been using these inputs, you know, and then we have been getting this output, right? So how do you, that's like arriving from step A to step, let's say F, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, right? So that domain expert knows the data is going through several steps to get a final outcome. Now, when an AI system is being implemented, that domain expert really has to explain it to the tech team, and then they understand the workflow and implement it, right? Okay, let's take an example where, let's say, business, an e-commerce business, they have the problem that their cost of operations is high and revenue is low, right?
Mhm.
So how does AI solve that problem? You know, so probably the company, the e-commerce company, they have data segmented into different channels or platforms. Like they may have a Slack channel, they may have a customer support system, they may have the CRM, may have the meeting recordings, right? Where different team members are discussing the challenges that they're facing with customers. So all of that data, when it accumulates over a period of time, it becomes very fragmented, and you cannot actually derive the essence out of that data,
Mhm.
you know like what is the essence that is lying within that data that can help the founders, the management, take some actions and improve, like what needs to be improved to reduce the cost of operations, to increase the revenue, because within that data, there may be certain complaints by the customers who may be saying, okay, the competitor product has this feature or this attribute which your product doesn't have. Could we implement that in your product? If you could implement that, your product would be so much more better than the competitor's product, right? But that sentence may get lost in the entire volume of information that is out there, right? So an AI system, and it's programmed to capture every data point, it won't miss it, right? And it will incorporate everything said by every customer and give a summarized, synthesized output, which helps the management take better decisions, improve their product, improve their customer service. And this overall improves how the customers feel about the company, about the product, the overall customer experience.
I truly
Another,
believe, I want people to understand that in my world, I used to say technology does three things very, very well. But I'm going to say it does
Mhm.
five things very, very well now, meaning speed. It does things very fast. So if you need to speed something up in your manual work processes, you might start looking at an AI type system. Communication, especially anything that's repetitive or it has to be communicated in different modalities, whether it's video, it's audio, it's text. Communication is very, very good from a technical standpoint. Another thing is scale. How can you scale it in many different ways, right? So that's very good when it comes to execution. If you've got bottlenecks and things of that nature. Well, there's two other things that are very important. Memory, so memorizing and having a memory of context within the project that you're working with, right? So you don't have, especially when you got these disconnected software systems, when that does it remember all these different inputs and what's there. So memory is another big deal when it comes to technology if you need something memorized. And then that last one is patterns. And I love that. I said patterns. It really understands patterns, or it can be maybe able to discern patterns a lot quicker than the human eye. So if you put all those five things together of what it can do, then you start looking at your workflows that you're talking about. You know your workflows a lot better. And then you can say, if this is a quiver, do I need more speed here? Do I need better communication right here? Can I scale at this point? Do I need things to be memorized? Everybody has their storage, really, as we're talking about, right? And then can I recognize the patterns and the trends that are very important for decision support, so I can now, to your point, solve a business problem. I've got too much overhead and I don't have enough revenue. But if I have some of these five things operating in the system, maybe I can get to what I want to do. Does that summarize a little bit of what you're talking about?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, for example, there may be a certain process in a company where five people are doing the same repetitive process. Right? They're doing something manually and it's a repetitive process. So, that's a perfect candidate for automation.
Mhm.
Like you said, AI is useful where because it remembers things, it does things fast. It does where repetition is a problem, it really speeds up things. So definitely what you said aligns well with an agentic AI system.
Yes. So let me ask you this. So now you've been in technology a long time, and now you've seen AI really kind of changed the platform. I call it enterprise process applications that are now done a lot quicker, a lot better. Where before it would have took you probably a long time to get to that result. What's some of the biggest things that are kind of an aha moment for you now? Like, wow, I couldn't do this 6 months ago, but now I can do it now.
A lot of things in terms of marketing as well. Like earlier, preparing content, right? Social media was a big thing back days and still is. So preparing content for social media used to be such a big problem. You writing content or getting ideas, you know different and researching different business trends and finding out ideas to talk about from there. So all of this has become so much easier, you know and then following up with customers, like for example with a system such as Go High Level or any other competitor system for that matter, it's become so much easier to stay in touch with clients,
Mhm.
right? You put in the details of the clients into the system, and it sends out automated newsletters to them. It sends out automatic updates to them. It's become so much easier to nurture clients, so much easier, as a result, so much easier for them to understand your product, understand your services, and feel more connected to you. So all of that has become so much easier, which used to be difficult
I
a couple
and
of
expensive.
years.
You said it was expensive. Only the uh, most most wealthiest companies could do something like that. Like it was so far advanced that you couldn't afford to maintain a system like that. But now the common person with very low investment could have a system of agentic AI systems that can do all these things, can automate these tasks, can get you better productivity, can get you better decision making, can scale your workflows, very efficiently, but your cost hasn't gone up, but your productivity has gone up, and I would hope your revenues and profits would go up. Um, is it that hard to implement these days? What are some of the things that people need to understand about that?
The most important thing to understand is, not tools. It's not like using a certain set of tools, but rather identifying the problems that are holding you back. Right?
Mhm.
Some problems AI may be able to help, some AI may not be able to help, right? But understanding the problems and then having a clear vision, like what is the AI roadmap to solve it. That's
Mhm.
the most important thing. It's not like, okay, I purchased this tool, I purchased that tool, and now I'm going to adapt those tools to my business,
Yeah.
right? It should not be that way. It should be the reverse. It should be first identifying the problems and then finding out what tools are appropriate to solve those problems, you know?
No,
Yeah.
100%. That's why I said you have to first understand what the tools do, and then look at your business process. So like, all right, where am I having the most friction at? Or where is the real bottleneck? Because if you've got great customer service, you don't necessarily have to put an AI automated voice system in. That might be fine, but then you might find out, man, processing these orders is becoming very tedious, and I got to take a lot of my most valuable resources, should be your human resource, and I got to put them back there to do all these repetitive, redundant, manual tasks. Then you're like, wow, is that something I can automate? Right? I think that's very, very important. So I think you help businesses to think through that, because they may like, I've never really thought through that. I don't have my operating procedures like in front of me. I don't really know where all the bones are buried, let's say, in my business operations. Do you help talk them through that?
Yes, definitely. That's my key strength, Like I mentioned earlier too, I've been in business for so long and have interacted with so many founders, so many business owners. I've worked through their challenges, and I can really, once I speak to a founder, once I speak to a few people in an organization, I can understand where the challenges are and what could be solved there to make things and life easier for them. So I definitely work through the challenges with the people I work with.
I would definitely
Yeah.
bring you in, because that's the big before you, and I want the audience to understand it, before you start spending tools, or I should say buying tools and spending monthly amount, or um, talk to an expert like Navin, who's going to help you. Because if your whole goal is to like, where can I automate? Because I'm hearing the hype. I understand where, hey, if I'm a small business, I might be a business of one person, a business of 5, 10 people, but I can 10x that utilizing AI agents and agentic AI. What does that look like? How can I do that to make my team more efficient? It's not about replacing human beings, but it's like, hey, if I don't need to hire another person, I can just AI enable the people I have to do things better, to achieve the objective of the business. I think that's very, very important. So that's why you need an expert like Naveen. Like you said, you understand the language of the business, and you understand the language of the technology. So then you can begin to help them through that journey. Now, help us understand the difference between a custom AI solution, that something that's built for that, specifically for that organization, and then an off the shelf type SaaS, software as a service type AI application.
For example, let's say uh, I've been working with a client, where they receive certain medical reports and then they enter it into a platform, right, for certain monitoring and things. So a couple of years back, we were getting those reports, and those reports, the data was being fed into the system manually, right, one at a time. You know, it had errors. It had chances of errors because it was manually. You had to look at the report and then enter it into the system. But now, recently, what has happened is you just take that report, upload it to the system, and the system automatically detects the data and puts it at the right places where the exact step that was being done manually a couple of months or years back. You know, so that's a custom solution,
Mhm.
right? I- That's a custom solution because it's a very unique problem where you need to pick up certain data points from a PDF and populate a online platform. So that's a custom solution. A automated solution could be like an off-the-shelf program, like let's say Go High Level. I'm talking about Go High Level again, right? Supposing you're running a campaign, you know, And let's say you're running a real estate campaign where you're a realtor and you have certain properties, and you want to generate more leads for that property, right? You'd put up a post on, let's say, Instagram, and say, okay, people who are interested in this property, drop me a hi, right? The people, they drop a message, and automatically the Go High Level system takes over, and it sends them a form, form to fill up, right? No manual intervention here. The Go High Level system is automatically doing that. The person fills up the form, what type of, what's his budget, what type of property he's looking for, and everything. And that form again populates the data into Go High Level, and then the Go High Level sends in more reports, more about the property, more about the area in general, like what's the crime rate there, how many schools are there, and different, basically the entire whatever the property person who's trying to buy the property needs to know about that place. It's a sort of nurturing system that. So this is an off-the-shelf system. The entire thing is already built in, but you just need to configure it.
Yeah,
So
purpose.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
important to understand. And then the difference between the two of owning something, maybe you want to make it into intellectual property, so it's your proprietized system, as to something that you utilize, like a Microsoft prop farm or something like that. And then a lot of people, you'll find out that they white label some of these systems as their own intellectual property as well. Talk to me more about your particular company. I think you're the CEO and owner of the company. Talk to me about the company and what it does.
like yeah. So basically, mine is an IT company. So we've been in business for almost 25 plus years now. Okay. And we've been dealing mainly with CRM systems, lot of market studies, data analytics, a lot of hand holding with clients to achieve their goals. Right? For example, I work with a lot of coaches, and the coaches, what they need to do is they run different programs, different training programs, right? So setting up the webinar systems for them, setting up the entire workflow for them, where you know linking up the payment gateways, configuring different training products, so all of that kind of thing. Basically, and I have a team. Besides me, I have a team. So each of my team members, they are experts in their own areas, own systems, you know, and together as a team, we are able to provide any kind of IT solution that a company is facing challenges with, you know.
I know you've
So
demonstrated a lot of, you understand the implementation and what it takes to get there. You are affordable, which I like. You're one of the partners that we're working with now, and I really appreciate that. And I know what another thing that you do that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, that you review and audit AI solutions. Help us understand, what does that mean when you're auditing an AI solution?
let's say these days, back in the old days, SEO, search engine optimization, was a big thing, right? And now these days, with the advent of AI, it's more like you know AEO, that's artificial engine optimization.
Mm.
So yeah, so what happens is you need to train all these AI modules like Claude and ChatGPT. So people these days, they are not searching for they're not actually looking searching for information. They're looking for answers. They ask like ChatGPT, okay? They ask like, who are the top dealers of this product in my area, right? They're looking for answers. So people, let's say a particular company, they need to be found on AI. They need to be found on AI. People need to find them on AI. So someone asks, like, okay, who's the best insurance advisor in my area? Right? So a person who is AEO optimized, whose company is AEO optimized, they'll appear in the chat results. You know, so those, yeah, but the results that AI is giving out, we need to audit whether they are right. If someone says, okay, those are the top results, whether they are actually the top results or not, you know. So those kind of audits we do. And like earlier I mentioned, like reports being uploaded into a platform, and then the platform, whether it's picked up the data correctly and populated the right fields. So that's again AI auditing. AI has done its output, but then we need to audit whether it's correct or not.
See, and I want everybody to understand what he's saying. There's a big shift going on in the digital world where before a lot of people they would optimize their websites and things like that for search engine optimization. Well, the behavior of people has changed. So you're not just going to Google, typing in information and getting those 10 blue links that we no one would really go into the other pages. If you weren't in the top 10, you're not going to probably be found. Well, now people are going to their AI model and just asking a question and getting an answer. Well, how is now the AI chatbot getting that information? Where's it pulling it from, and where's it going to then display it, in front of the user? That is gold right now because you want that. You want to be known as the expert in the field, in the mind, let's say, of the AI engine. That goes back to what you were saying earlier, understanding the difference between human language and then machine language. You have to be able to speak to the machine in a certain way that it says, yes, I want to get Grant McGaugh and five-star BDM into that answer for the AI chatbot to present to the user. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So that's called artificial engine optimization. And that's something all businesses have to look to in the coming days, because everyone is now searching for answers. They want answers, ready answers, rather than them looking for something and then deciding on an answer for themselves.
Yeah, you're getting more precise information. These AI chatbots are talking to you in a very authoritative voice, so it sounds very, very confident with the information that's coming back to you. But you have to have a certain influence there to get the right result that you're looking for. So understanding AI is only the beginning. The implementation creates real business impact. And I'm saying that because those are Navin's words to me. Understanding AI is only the beginning. Implementation creates real business impact. And this is why we need to work with organizations that Navin runs, and then why this is so important. So as I leave you with this last question, and I want I want you to think about this. Why do you do this kind of work?
It, actually, it's been a passion for me because I love solving problems. I love understanding challenges and solving problems. So that's why uh, I did my computer science engineering in the first place. So since the time I graduated, that's been my passion, and that's what kept me going for these 25 years. You know, so I'm still as excited as I was on day one.
I like that. And I want to ask you this other because I've been in technology what 30 some odd years now. And with AI, coming on the scene in the last 2 to 3 years, I noticed, and maybe it's just a marketing thing or what, but all of a sudden, all these other companies are all AI experts. And I'm like, well, what were you doing before 2022 or 2023? Like, what was your expertise before that? Because if you didn't understand business process automation or you didn't understand software code, you didn't understand all these other things that preceded what you would call AI algorithms, the way it's utilized today. Do you think there's a lot, of confusion in the marketplace when people are starting to look like, oh, well, this person must, they say they know AI innovations, but you got to peel that back a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, that's true. So, just to understand your question, what you're trying to say is what was happening prior to 2022, right?
Yeah, yeah, man. Like there's just so many companies out there. All of a sudden, they all are saying that they're all AI experts. Let's say it like that. And you're saying, well, but what were you doing before? You have 20 years experience. You've seen this whole industry just in digital transformation taking place, and they had all kinds of names for it: the digital front door, the transformation project, software enabled applications. I mean, you just and but is it more about marketing, or is it an expertise now that people are adopting, or maybe they've always had? I don't know how you discern that.
Like what I've seen, and I was thinking about it a couple of days back as well. So, what people really called AI these days always been there in some form or the other, not as pronounced, but still there. You know, for example, what is AI? It's intelligence, artificial intelligence, right? So, you know, running some sort of a workflow or thing like earlier there used to be MailChimp and things. So some sort of, intelligent data, you know, d- deciding on some intelligent data on those systems was already there, but it has evolved over a period of time. And that's what we are calling AI these days, you know. But portions of it were still there prior to 2022 as well.
I hear you, and that's what I wanted to understand, that part, because there's always been logic. Software is logic, so the if
Yeah,
has always been there. That's what we call deterministic. But now you're giving it the flair probabilistic. So probability plus speed,
right.
right?
Yes. So earlier, it used to be only that technical people used to understand, the logic. Computer science, as you say, is all logic. Okay, if this happens, what happens next? Or if that happens, what happens next, right? It used to be in code form. Only technical people, people who know coding, they used to understand that. But these days, all that has been presented into a package such that even a layman who doesn't know coding or who doesn't know technology can understand it. So it's a matter of presentation.
I like that. So it's commoditized or got down to a point where like I said, the common man can utilize it. That's why I see the world now in this giant IT experiment that everybody is involved in. If you're using Claude and then you get Claude code, all of a sudden now everybody can create code at speed, and you're creating software applications at speed. But there's a lot more into it, and I guess that's where we're going to help people understand this. It's not just now you have a coding platform. You might have a beta. You might have an application that could possibly produce a certain output. But there's a lot other things that go into that whole process that I don't think a lot of people, especially if they're not used to what the IT world actually looks like it from a business standpoint, haven't even contemplated that. And this is one of the reasons why you need a person like yourself to guide them along that path.
Yeah, definitely. It's some things you understand in theory, right? You read through a thing and you understand, okay, and you feel, okay, that's a good thing. I need to implement it for my business, right? But it gets overwhelming at times where, you need to understand a lot of technical jargon and it gets overwhelming at times. So, and you'd rather spend that time on your business, and so that's where people like me, consultants like me, can be useful, that we implement those processes and at the same time explain it to you like what's happening. So you just need to know the parts that are useful to you to run that application or to run it for your business, but you don't really have to go into the technicalities because that defeats the purpose of AI. AI is meant to save you time, but if you get into too much technicalities, that's going to take up a lot of your time, you know?
Oh, you said it right. Exactly. You need to concentrate on the things that your business expertise, your domain expertise is in the business that you know, or the product or service that you produce, right? So then you want just to AI enable it. Remember going back to those five things I talked about: the speed, the communication, the actual scalability, the memory of processes, and then also the patterns there. So I believe that, especially a five-star BDM, that you can succeed with AI, when you get beyond the theory and you become part of the everyday operations. I think Navin will help you understand that, so you can begin to see your operations grow. He's explaining it to you, but you don't have to get into the weeds of it. So again, taking away your time. One of the big things that people like about AI that saves them time, and it should also help them to grow, monetarily and actually improve their intelligence along the way. Would you like to leave us with any last thoughts before we conclude?
Yeah, the last thoughts would be, you have to consider AI as an enabler, right? Enabler. So it is meant to save you time and improve your life. And, so that's how you should look at it, not as a competitor that's, that's taking away people's jobs or anything like, but rather as an enabler that's helping you become more efficient.
I love that. I love that. And if people want to contact you, what's the best possible way?
Best possible way is my email. Once we get connected on email, then I can just drop in my WhatsApp number or my Slack channel or whatever is convenient for them to communicate with me. So, you
Awesome.
know,
Awesome. I can't wait to work with you, especially a lot of businesses that I work with, because they understand they have to identify what the opportunity will look like. We have to work with you on that. We can design the workflows, we can build the automations, we can create the assistance, implement the AI, optimize the solution that you will need, and get the answers you want, and then remove those roadblocks. There's some of the things that when working with Navin and myself that we're able to do. So I want to thank you again for being on the show on the fivestarbdm.com platform. We call it Follow the Brand. So thank you so much for being a guest, Navin. Appreciate you.
thank you so much. My pleasure to be on the show.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much.